Yeah.
George said the same thing back in '77. It's all good.
Exactly. We are going live, and I just said to Brad, I hope people are watching. Excellent. All right. What's up, everybody in the chat? I got a surprise. Brad is here. What's up, Brad?
I am just happy and elated to be here. I was not expecting this. I'm only home for a few days. You hit me up on the text and said, "Hey, we're gonna have Boba Fett on the show." So
Excellent.
I said, "Yeah, let's do a damn thing," and here we are.
It's fantastic. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. We obviously we've been promoting it for the last couple of days. It's been in the planning for a while, back and forth. We've got some things to talk about with Mr. Mark Austin, our special guest tonight. But first, there's some things that I've been following his account for quite a while, and he has been posting some really great stuff. He has been post. I love watching him do his paintings. They're
Yeah.
amazing. He starts out obviously blank canvas, and then later on it's like he's showing a photograph or a film still. They're so amazing. But he also posts a lot of behind the scenes stuff, which obviously for anybody that knows me and knows the show, I always talk about behind the scenes. It's one of the biggest reasons I got into Star Wars. All the people behind the scenes at ILM, and all the stuff, the incredible stuff that they do. For me, that was really why I fell in love with Star Wars and filmmaking, and being a camera person that I am, owning my own video production company here in Chicago, doing all the stuff that kind of that inspired George Lucas as well. So I'm really excited to talk to Mark about some of those aspects and some of the other things that he's been doing. He seems like a really fun guy. I've gotten a lot of posts from other people that have spoken to him. So really looking forward to that. So Chantel, if you know, like I said, she's been under the weather, so she didn't join me. But thank God that Providence came to pass here, and you are here with me, Team Scarif all the way. But we were going to
If
talk
I'm
about
if I'm Providence,
Providence.
we got we got issues.
We got a problem. But yeah, so we were going to talk about the special editions, Star Wars special editions, and I know they're sometimes they become a little controversial. The way George kind of plays around with in that sandbox. I think it's fantastic. I mean, obviously it's his trilogy, it's his property. I cut him some slack. He can do whatever the hell he wants. But also there's a point in time where, the technology, he was kind of playing around with it, and that technology, and I think, when we get Mark on there, he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but the technology and all the process that he laid the groundwork for during the production of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles on the small screen was partly to kind of, prepare him and the company to launch into creating the prequel trilogy. And it's exciting for me. I'm a techie. I love technology. I love behind the scenes. So it is fantastic. I'm really looking forward to. So what do you really think about the Star Wars special editions, Brad?
I was about to say while you're talking, do you remember when the special editions were the biggest splitting point between Star Wars
Oh
fans? Like
yeah, back in the
I feel
day.
like I feel like that's featherweight class now as far as the disputes that we get into. I think we've all accepted. Well, yeah, not everybody, but I think most everybody's accepted them. Just like you said, that's what George wanted to do. With that was his baby. And he wanted to, put some finishing touches on it years later. And even though it split us before, we have much bigger things to argue right now. So there are some moments that didn't necessarily need to be included probably, but all in all, I think they're fun. I think most of the additions to the movies were fun, and threw in some Easter eggs in there, tied in a little bit of the EU to the stories. And all that being said, I think they're cool. I think it's a good addition to the Star Wars universe.
So, out of all the 3 special editions that were created, Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi, which is your favorite? And which is your favorite because of the use of the new elements that were added to the films?
Well, I'll tell you what my least was, and that was touching my favorite, which was Return of the Jedi. I am one of the few that like the original Jabba scene, Jabba's palace, and I like the original Yub Nub from the end of the movie. A lot of people love, when he panned across the galaxy to all the different planets celebrating. But I'm a traditionalist on Return of the Jedi. But both 4 and 5 had some good elements. Obviously, we got to see. Obviously, we'll be talking to Mark about it. We got to see Jabba and Boba in Episode 4. And then some of the different interactions in 5 as well. So I'd probably have to give it to 4 because it also had Dash Rendar's ship leaving Mos Eisley when they're in the space boat. So Shadows of the Empire is a great game, and I love that he included that on there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's for me, and I think I'm going to agree with. I think it's Josh Holochronicles. He says Empire Strikes Back Special Edition is probably his favorite. Yeah. Those scenes on Bespin on Cloud City, they really opened them up. They expanded them, and I really, really love them. It's, I think The Empire Strikes Back for me is probably the perfect film, not just the perfect Star Wars film, but it's probably, for me, it's the perfect film. And I know, we talked about Back to the Future, the trilogy, with Frank yesterday when we did our time travel show. And he was talking about how, for him, his perfect trilogy, his perfect film is Back to the Future. But for me, it has to be The Empire Strikes Back. It's one of those movies that I can just watch over and over and over again. And I always seem to pick up something new or interpret something new in a really great new way. And I know, Mark has worked on the special editions. We're going to talk to him about that. But before we do that, let's start this party rolling. We're going to do our little introduction, and we'll bring Mark out and start the chat. What's up, everybody? Thanks for the chat, everybody. Woo.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
And that is absolutely true. Welcome, everybody, to the show, to the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, Mr. Mark Austin. Mark, how's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's a Sunday evening in California, nice weather, great company.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have a great discussion, a lot of topics that we're going to talk about, and I'm just happy that you guys are here with me. Brad, Mark, talking Star Wars, talking a little Boba Fett. What is up? It can't get any better than that, right, Brad?
No, this is amazing. Like you said at the top, wasn't expecting this, but I've been following. We've both been following Mark for years now on Twitter, and like you said, wrote just amazing content. Not just the Boba content, but the art as well. And like you said, the behind the scenes, a glimpse, into the inner workings of the movie industry, and that's all very intriguing. But we were talking about. So Mark, it's great to meet you, and I'm so glad to have you on. Ro was talking about your artwork, and I'm with him. Seeing those from blank slate to finished product is just incredible. And so you obviously, we've seen Vader, we've seen the Bespin scenes. You've obviously have a huge passion for this. And so where did that passion come from? Have you always, were you a Star Wars fan from the get-go, from the first movies, and with sci-fi? Where tell us about your passion for the art.
Well, my passion started from like I said, sci-fi. So, I was into all the sci-fi shows that kind of preceded Star Wars. And, any movies, even movies that were slow moving, like Silent Running, anything sci-fi, I was just mesmerized. So I always had a big passion for space, and I think maybe that came from watching the Man on the Moon when I was 3 years old, which was like mind blowing. And my mother said, you better watch this because it's going to be important one day. And it totally shaped my life. I was always looking to the stars and stuff. And so Star Wars came along at a time in my life when my mother and my stepfather were splitting, and it was very ugly and a lot of stress. And so Star Wars became my escape. So I'm just thankful to George for allowing me somewhere to go for those years. So, I always wanted to tell him that. We never got to a comfortable working situation one-on-one where I could mention something like that. Kind of embarrassing, but still, I do owe him for just like having this epic come out and just reshape my life. I became obsessed with Star Wars. So 1977, before the movie came out, I was waiting for the movie. I was waiting. And when I got the book, and I read the book before I saw the movie, and it just was, I read, Splinter the Mind's Eye as quick as I could get my hands on it.
Yeah.
I was just greedy for the escapism of that galaxy far, far away. And I used it, and I used it to escape too. Literally, as you know, you mentioned I'm an artist, so imagination is big, and so that was a great escape for me. And it was the culmination of years and years of being obsessed with sci-fi and spaghetti westerns and Sinbad movies, and this was just like all of those things perfect in a perfect package.
It's interesting because a lot of guys our age, guys and gals, whoever is interested in this sort of thing, you mentioned the moon landing, and that was in 1969. Mm-hmm. And, I remember watching it not live, but after the fact, because I was born in 69. And it's, you also mentioned, the stop motion stuff. What's the guy's name? Larry, right. I mean, all that stuff kind of, we seem to we interview a lot of people, and we've interviewed a lot of folks behind the scenes. We've talked with, visual effects artists and editors and stuff like that. And it seems like all of that, that you just mentioned is kind of like a commonality for us. And it helps us, I think it helps us think outside the box as far as like problem solving. Sci-fi is kind of like out there. So our brain naturally goes out there as well. And it's kind of like refreshing. And I know not a lot of people are into the field or into the genre. But for me, I think it's a refreshing take on life. It helps us, kind of step back and take a look at more of a universal problem than kind of like a microcosm. And Brad, you've spoken, about macrocosm versus microcosm in past episodes and stuff like that. So I find that intriguing. I find that fascinating. That it is kind of a commonality between everybody that kind of likes sci-fi. It's cool.
I think it's a shared want for that kind of nothing's impossible in sci-fi. Like the impossible becomes possible somehow in sci-fi, and because we all have that in us, we can kind of relate to each other. So that kind of should bring us together as fans, and that's why I love doing conventions, because it's like meeting like-minded people that have all that background, like you just said. I got to meet Harryhausen. He's my hero. I got to meet him. I was like, oh my God. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know where to start. Like, where do I start with this guy? And he's like, I wonder if you wanted to buy my book. And I was like, I'd love to. Can you sign it? And signed it. And I just was like a drooling idiot. I wish I had formulated some questions, but I didn't expect to meet him in person.
Wow.
So I love what you were saying about, escape. And, that's what Star Wars provided for so many of us. And, we've talked about Joseph Campbell and, the making of a myth and stuff like that. And obviously Joseph Campbell being a big influence on George as he developed Star Wars. And I was just wondering, follow up a question about Escape. What do you think about more, current political issues and stuff like that being thrown into sci-fi? Do you think that's a good way to go, or do you think that sci-fi fantasy should be kept as that, and a place and allow us to leave this planet for a little bit?
Well, that's my biggest beef about that they can't. It's a galaxy far, far away. It's not even our galaxy, yet everything kind of is related to, our issues on Earth. Everything's kind of likened to what's happening on this planet. It's not this planet. It's not this planet. It's not even this galaxy. It's a galaxy far, far away, but apparently not far enough to make it not an issue. But I think another thing you're touching on is that the internet is a swimming pool full of, I think Joe Rogan put it the best, recreationally outraged people. And it's true. It's just like they got to tell you the mistake in your last text.
Right.
Got to point that out.
Absolutely.
Got to tell you. It's like, why? It's like, why?
Yeah,
why study every? It's very.
Yeah.
We should have learned our lesson with email, because when email came along, and people wrote as though they were chatting, but everyone would either read it a positive way or a negative way, and you could read it both.
Right. And
you go for negative immediately, for defensive. And so I thought we'd have learned our lesson with email. That's why you had emoticons. We've got to use emoticons. You've got to put a smiley face. you gotta let people know I'm joking. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
I'm joking. That's not the right film. It's a joke. Anyway.
Well, we'll definitely talk about the elephant in the room towards the latter half of our conversation here. But talking about social issues in sci-fi, our friends, the Science Fictionary in the chat, has a comment which I wanted to kind of touch on, because it asks the same question that Brad did. Science fiction has always been about exploring humanity. You've got, movies like the original Planet of the Apes and all the stuff that happens in the 60s with Star Trek and all that stuff. But it's no longer about simply making us think, but it tends to be about telling us what to think. And I think that subtlety has kind of gone away with modern sci-fi or modern IPs that you can't help but to piss somebody off. And I think that's as much as all that stuff happens, it also contributes to how we react to it. How easy is it to look at something, I don't agree with this, and just keep moving? But people don't do that anymore.
No. Well, they kick from that response,
Right.
And I get it. When I'm pissed off, I get it. Everyone's human. But when you take it online and you broadcast it to the world, that's why I really try and keep my stuff positive as much as I can.
Sure.
I try not to avoid. I don't want to get into political issues or any religious issues. I just want to talk about Star Wars and behind the scenes. That's what I love, and artwork and those three things.
Sure.
If you love those things, you'll probably like what I post. If you don't, then this isn't the thread for you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't. They want you to change rather than not follow you. It's like, why? So you got to filter. You got to not read the comments as much as you can.
Yeah.
But you still want to involve the people that you do have a rapport with. So it's a fine line between ignoring the comments and
Sure. Yeah. So let's get back to the creative side. You were a traditional animator before digital work. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how did you perceive the change in your field when computers were introduced to that realm? And I have a funny story that I always tell about my business partner. We went to college for video production and editing and all that stuff. And obviously we didn't start in film, but it was digital. It was tape-to-tape machines.
Yeah.
We were editing back and forth. And there was 1 year where nonlinear editing was introduced through computers. And my business partner said, I don't need to learn computers. I'm going into television. And years later, it's all computers. So it's just fascinating to me. I love telling that story. But how did you take that into, I guess, into your arsenal of work? Was it hard, that transition?
It was. It was something very foreign to me when I was a pencil and paper animator. At my friend's, he was a assistant editor, and he was mad about ILM and computer animation. And those are the two things that fascinated him. And I personally didn't enjoy it. I thought it was kind of a bit lifeless. Like it didn't have that spark that I thought you got with 2D animation. So I was very much biased against it. And it was only by chance that I got offered this job where ILM offered to teach me a 2D animator. We want to teach you, the 2D animator, the 3D software in 8 weeks. How am I going to say no to that? And work for my idol, George Lucas, in the process. It's like, how am I going to say no to that? So it turned out that this happened just after I'd been made redundant. My bosses both were retiring age, and they declared bankruptcy and closed the company. We had like a month to work, and then we're out. So I needed a job, and this job came along, and so I embraced it. I was like, okay, let's see what this 3D is about. And I found it fun. I felt like I was being paid to play video games all day. ILM were going to pay me to go to these improv and acting classes and train me as an artist. It was like, I just felt like I'd won the lottery.
Sure.
As an artist. I went from being unemployed, and 2 months later, I know I'm going to America, and I have to rent my house out and sell my car. And put all my stuff in storage, and in 3 weeks, and grab 2 suitcases, and I jumped on a plane because I was only going to come over here for 18 months. That's all. They said it was for a contract, run of picture. It's called Casper, produced by Steven Spielberg. Make sure you say that at the embassy. That will get you through the paperwork quicker. And so I thought I was going to come over for 18 months, and this was January of 1994, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
They won't let me go now. Now I want to go home.
Yeah.
They're like, no, make one more movie.
Wow.
I could not even imagine getting any correspondence from ILM whatsoever. So I mean,
Yeah.
that is amazing.
With that cog and the
Sure.
magician and
Yeah.
everything, the holy kind of grail of logos. It's like, oh my god.
Can you imagine getting an envelope in the mail and looking at that and
Yeah.
not even reading where it's from, because it's instantly recognizable, the ILM logo. It's like, what the? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's gotta be wild.
Yeah.
That's gotta be wild.
I kept it. I always kept it.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So is there a misconception that people have about digital effects in films? Whether like
Well,
Marvel movies, Star Wars movies.
Yeah, it's the overuse of, everything, drugs, sugar, all moderation is key for everything, including use of CG in movies. And so when George chucked out optical, there's always optical background and optical history. No, I want to do it all digital because he was really excited about the reusability. The fact that you could use the same animation again, make another stepboard and another one, just with one animation. So he was like ecstatic about that, and that there was no limits because you put a green screen there, you can put whatever you imagine behind it. But that's an overuse, And so when people moan about the special editions, originally they were intended just because. Okay, I've already established George is fascinated with digital effects. So he's going to use digital effects in abundance on episode 1, even more so on episode 2, even greater digital effects on episode 3, and then 1977 optical effects. So he was under the impression, I want to level it up so there's not this drop. I don't want to make it a visible drop. I'd like to kind of just do the little things that bugged me, like the pink flames on the Y-wings blowing up, stuff like that. And I was like, well, if anyone has license to say that, it's you.
Yeah,
You're
right.
the only one in the world, in fact. There's only one person on the world, this planet, that's you. And if I said no, like people said, well, they won't me for some of the stuff that I've done. It's like if I said no, someone else would have to have done it. And there were a couple of things I did never do. I never did that. I thought the whole Greedo thing was a myth because there's no creature animation in that. All I was responsible was for like robots, droids, any kind of creatures, Dubats, Rontos, Scarias, Jawas, fake stormtroopers, and I said droids, vehicles, the odd vehicle, and that was it. They wouldn't even give me John Knoll. I wanted just one spaceship shot. Just give me one, and he wouldn't. I'm getting all the spaceships.
Yeah.
Right. So I said anything creatures, which I'm not interested in. You do. The only exception was they didn't trust me because I was like, this is my second movie with special effects in computer graphics. So, I'm a newbie. I'm surprised I got picked because there was only one slot. John Knoll took one of the slots, and the other one, I didn't think I was going to get picked because I just started 18 months ago. And they just tore that contract up and said, you're full-time now. Is that okay? Yes, fine. It's fine. It's fine. I better tell my mum, though.
Yeah.
Mom, sorry, you're not coming out. Just crying. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to. I thought if anyone's going to put everything they can into these shots, I'd rather it be me than someone else. I'd rather it be me than someone else because I know I'm going to be studying. I'm going to be looking at
right.
That stormtrooper. How would a stormtrooper dismount a dewback? Oh, okay.
Right.
He would reach down and find that knee, then he'd find that elbow maybe, and then I'd have to jump from there. So he'd crouch a bit and he'd jump out. And I did that, and George couldn't believe it wasn't live action. He was like, "Is that live action?" I said, "No, it's animated." He goes, "It's not animated." Yes, animated. So he got this idea. Maybe he had planted the idea for the stat droids. I don't know.
Interesting.
But there was never going to be an Empire Strikes Back special edition.
Wow.
There never was going to be a Jedi. And I left before those two were even started. I might have stayed if I'd known.
Yeah.
Because I loved working on A New Hope so much. Empire's my favorite movie. Yeah. So the fact I'd love to have done that Slave one shot. Probably John Knoll would have taken it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would have loved to have done, something.
That's great.
There weren't that many creatures added to Empire, so maybe I wouldn't have got to do much. But I would have been in the suit for Jedi.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But I was an employee at that time.
So let me ask you this real fast. You mentioned some of the creatures that you were designing. There is a story on your website regarding the Ronto and how that sequence kind of evolved when everybody just started throwing, well, what about we do this? What if we do this? What if we that? Yeah. We've spoken to, our friend Yoshi Vu, who worked on some of the, one of the new movies and stuff like that. And how often does that process turn into such a kind of like a clusterfuck, to lack of a better word? Like you're presenting something and then you realize, oh, I thought this was going to be my final draft, but I guess they want changes. How often does that happen in your world?
It happens more often than you'd think, only because you have a copy of that first version, so they can, like I said, explore whatever they want. They can put whatever they want in place of that green screen, and so when it's limitless, they want to see, maybe I want to see this, and this as well, and they'll choose. So you've got to do two versions, or they'll take it as far as they can and realize, oh no, well maybe it was better than the way we had it before, and that happens. That's soul destroying when that happens, but that happens a lot. That you explore something to the point where it's illustrated that it won't work, and then they reject it. So I was thinking that would happen for that Ronto scene, because that is a scene that just was a Ronto walking through and a speeder cruising through. And that was it. I didn't have to add any droids or anything. And George he just suddenly fixated on the fact that nobody, like in the other shots, I'd managed to animate, which was, oh my God, animating a rope back in those days.
Yeah.
I wish we had the tools now, but it was literally like having a piece of wire and bending it so that it always connected with the guy's hand, but it swung as well in 3 dimensions, like it was being jostled.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But in the other shots, there'd always been somebody in front, or they could have been off camera a little bit. So when there was this large open square and this creature's walking, it just bugged him. But instead of just putting a rider on it, it started to snowball. And it's because of there's too many. He had a lot of people that agreed very quickly with anything he said. So
Oh yeah.
it suddenly it kind of egged it on and gave it momentum. It's like, oh no, like, come on, because I'm done with the shot. I'm done. I thought I was going to get it approved.
Yeah.
I didn't want this, and then what it turned into destroyed what it was originally intended for. It was originally an establishing shot, and an establishing shot, you don't want much happening. You don't want much of a camera move, a slight push in, slight pull out, maybe you did push in, but you establish this is the area in which these next following shots take place. Go. That's its purpose, and they're not very long, 3 seconds, usually 4 seconds. But he made it this theater. He made this whole. It was like Cirque du Soleil meets a Tatooine just square, and it became this big. And everything he described just was more work for me. So I was like, really? And I got to do that. And I didn't want to be. I didn't want it to go. But I thought it happened before in my favor. I showed him a version that it was going to be, and he said, "Yeah, it's not very good, is it?" And rejected it. So I was hoping that would go the same route, and it didn't. They used it in the movie, even with the problems with the Ronto, because you mentioned I designed them. I didn't design the creatures; I just animated them. They came designed, and it was only when I realized that I've learned a lot more about computer animation since this time I'm talking about. But now I know that the position of the spine relative to the skin is important. Sure. If you have a neck, you want the middle, the vertebrae of the bone to be dead center so that it moves, right? That makes sense, right?
Right.
In the Ronto, get my Ronto. In my Ronto,
we got Rontos.
It's way back here. It's way back. So something way back, a small movement in the back is a great movement in the front. And this was all of his bones because they just taken the brachiosaur skin off. Oh, this is a great design. It fits on the brachiosaur. Make it on the brachiosaur skeleton. There you go. There's a new recycled creature. Oh, here's a velociraptor. Let's put a new skin on it. Oh, there's a Scarif. Yeah, get that going. So there wasn't any thought of skeleton to skin. It just was chucking a new skin onto the brachiosaur, and it didn't work. And I thought even with all the chest moving, they had so many problems with that. They should have just re-rigged it, but we didn't know back then. We didn't know how to do lip sync. We were trying our best at making Casper speak. We didn't know how to make it look like this completely clinically lifeless thing could be expressive and look like it's talking. It's a big challenge to do that. Wow. But the overuse of it, that's why I'm glad that the prequels happened because it showed what everyone learned the lesson, because the sequels, regardless of what you think of the story, I'm so glad they went back to that hybrid mix of the blue screen, which is now CG, and practical effects. Because it was like there's Ewan McGregor talking to the guy across that diner. It should have been a guy and a puppet. It would have been so much more. There would have been more like interaction and nuances, little quirks that happened. Sure. Ewan would have just gone for it. He would have just pulled out. You would have. I felt like he was held back so much, in the same way as Julia Roberts was in Hook. She worked on Hook and she never got to meet another actor.
Wow.
She hated green screen. She said, "I'm never, ever, ever going to do one of these roles again that involves this disconnect." And I get it. Mm-hmm. I get it. I think they learned the lesson. So I'm so glad that there's this revival of what worked.
Sure.
Which was the 70s mix.
Yeah. And it seems like they totally went back with this method for The Mandalorian. I see all the behind the scenes stuff, and they got guys in the garage building these camera rigs, and that's one of the things that I love about ILM and the creative people behind the scenes there. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we learned that. We learned it. It took a trilogy to learn it.
Yeah.
but we learn how not to excess. You know, as I said, moderation is key with everything, even your favorite food. You know, so.
Well, those are fighting words right there. But we're going to continue, obviously, to dive deeper into Star Wars. But I wanted to go back to something you mentioned real quick. You kind of already alluded to this, but there was a documentary that came out a few years ago. I think you can still follow it or find it on YouTube. It was, I think it's called "The People versus George Lucas," and the premise of it was, you know, once an artist has created something. The basic question is, who does it belong to at that point? Does it still belong to the artist, right? Does the Mona Lisa still belong to Da Vinci, or does it belong to the people now? And so, you know, it was, did George have the right, you know, at all to go back and put these the special editions out? So I wanted to, get you on record with your opinion on that.
Okay, you ready? You ready for my answer?
Absolutely.
This is what I think. The mistake George made was discounting he'd ever made the prior version. Yes, New Hope Special Edition should exist. I think so. But so should A New Hope. It's the fact that he suddenly said, I never made those prior versions. He should have been selling 2 versions. I think he missed out on a cash cow. Because people love both versions for different reasons. Some people grew up with the special editions, and they can only remember seeing me first as Boba Fett, which is crazy, you know, because all the other Boba Fetts are my heroes, you know. I think that was his mistake. That's all I'm going to say on it.
Love it.
And what do you say to, you know, obviously
I love the originals.
Sure, yeah. But
I wish I could get copies of them on Blu-ray.
When you make something though, and it doesn't come out, you know, just like you want it to, don't you have the right to kind of maybe change it and then just forget the older one? And I know, you know, that's relatively speaking, because Star Wars to a lot of people is just, you know, perfection per se. But you know, when it comes to this product, you know, what do you say to people like that?
Okay, it was. I mean, to me and all the people that are disgruntled, it was perfection. We loved the pink flames.
Right. Yeah.
We loved the Dianoga. We didn't want to see anything change. We loved everything about it. We loved even the Stormtrooper bumping his head.
Right.
I love the mistakes. People sometimes point out mistakes as though they're the most terrible things, but they're the same people saying about the overuse of digital. It's like, well, make up your mind. Do we shoot practically and get some, you know, people standing in the back with their jeans on, or do we go back to digital where everything's kind of, you know, clinically, you have to pump the life into it. So, what was the original question again?
just about, you know, creatives going back and fixing things. So,
I can't remember my point now.
You know, when George Lucas created Star Wars and he let it out in the world, obviously there were some shortcomings.
I remember what
he went to fix things. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember I was going to say that, like, we never saw anything but perfection. But, you know, okay, you're an artist, I know you're a filmmaker. So you are your own worst critic.
Right.
You know? And so it's easy to say to other people, you know, you should leave it, it's perfect. But I am the worst. I'll see something, I don't want to change it, even if I, you know, finish it. I'm damn. And usually it's too late, because in my industry, once it's got that approval stamp, it's sailed. Only if you make a big bid for a legitimate mistake in it can you bring it back. But otherwise it sails. And you're like, damn, I wish I could have, you know, I'm never happy with everything I've done. And George wasn't happy, but George has the ability. He had had Rick McCallum backing him and saying, let's do this. So, I mean, who do you point the finger at? It could be Rick McCallum for, you know, encouraging him to do it.
Right.
But I don't know. I wish that we had equal access to both versions. That's all. You know.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I still have probably every version of the original trilogy that ever came out, you know, VHS. I even have, you know, a box set of the Pan and Scan, and I don't take it out often, but I've got everything. Even the soundtrack. I've got every incarnation of the soundtrack with different cues and different versions and all that stuff. Because not that I'm a completist, but you're right. It's like that stuff, lives in my soul, like the rest of us. When we first experienced Star Wars, the original one. And you're right. They're perfect. They're perfect the way they are. We don't see the flaws. It's love at first sight, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah, I mean, I see it still like I first saw it. Not quite as much. I have to remind myself. I love watching Empire and think in the back of like, don't expect to see the probe droid. Just trying to remember the first time you witnessed the Wampa, the walkers, the asteroids. It was like there's so many. It was like punch, punch, punch. That's why I think we love Empire the most. Is because it took everything that New Hope or Star Wars as it was had built, and it gave us a really dark movie where you ended not worried. You came out of the theater not like, oh my god, oh my god, I want to see the next movie, but you're like, I'm worried.
right,
I had to worry for 3 years.
yeah,
It was crazy. And I think that worry made it a brain tattoo for you. That 3 years waiting for Return of the Jedi is why Empire stands out in most people's brains as being the one that they like the most.
Are you saying that we were psychologically scarred?
Yeah, but in a great way, because we did find out things did happen. The only thing I was really scarred about is I waited 3 years and then Boba died. He's found the Sarlacc. I'm like, he was my guy.
Yeah,
he was my guy out of all of them.
And how many conversations did you have in those 3 years about Vader and Luke and everything else?
Yeah, and you had the toys to play all those things
without social media, even
without social media.
Yeah.
I look at my history as a pre-internet and a after internet, and I really miss the pre-internet a lot. I much miss the pre. I mean, I love everything the internet has done to kind of make the world small,
right,
and make the world communicate.
Sure.
Regardless of newspapers and kind of hearsay, but I do love the simpler times of before. I'd always go back to those early 90s working at ILM, just because ILM internet was out there, but we were not allowed the internet access. They didn't want anything leaking out.
Yeah.
So I didn't see internet till I left ILM. I went to Disney.
Wow. Interesting. So, talking about our benchmark, pre-internet and post-internet, and we know the fight that exists in between that. Recently, there was some hubbub regarding the renaming or the dropping of the name of Slave One, Boba Fett's ship, and obviously a fan favorite. But you got some shit for voicing your opinion, and how dare you voice your opinion on the internet? What do you think about all the people that kind of, like I said earlier, I mean, sometimes you can scroll through something and something clicks in people's brains that I have to comment on this. And, Brad, we call these people, sometimes we call them keyboard warriors. They wouldn't say the stuff that you see on Twitter to your face.
Face to face.
Nope.
And it's kind of interesting. But like I said, you got shit for expressing your opinion. And, if anybody would be able to, give the right to express an opinion on a ship, I think it would be you. What do you think about all that crap?
I think it would have been very weak of me not to express the feelings I had, because if Boba Fett's not going to stand up to Slave One, then who is, And the thing is that they made it outrage. It's more, I'm sad. I'm sad that they've won. They've won already. The fact that now everyone, it's like a taboo kind of thing that surrounds the name now. We're talking about it. It's forever going to have that thing. So they've won. I hate the fact that they've tainted it. They've made it taboo.
It's still Slave One around here, man.
Yeah, it is. But it's always going to have that now mark in it. It's like, damn it. It's like a little thing that you can't get off. Like, damn it. It's forever going to be there. It's like a permanent marker. Like, damn you.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm more sad. I'm more sad because I knew at that point they already crossed that line.
Right.
It's like, it's like pre-internet, post-internet.
Right.
Once it exists, once it's out there, and especially now with things spreading the way they do, like wildfire,
Sure.
you never know what spark is going to catch. And I never knew that was going to happen. I never knew that. My friends in England were asking me, what? I was like, what got me out of bed? I didn't.
Right.
The irony here is that no one thought of it that way until the people complaining about it.
Exactly. They made a thing of it. They created this taboo. It didn't exist. It's like you had two people in the world. You had the people that knew Star Wars, the people that don't know Star Wars. That's pretty much the whole world. So people that know Star Wars, what's Slave One? That's Boba Fett shit. Right. Next question. People that don't know Star Wars, what's Slave One? Slave One? What's the one? I don't know. It could be anything. I don't know. Slave One must be the name of something. Because I don't know, Slave One with a numerical one? Yeah, numerical one. Then I don't know. Right. It wasn't Slave ONE. It wasn't Slave Space One. It was Slave numerical one, all one thing. So it's like, if you get rid of the one, you got some problems, maybe. But the one there makes it the name of a ship, and who better to have an edgy named ship than Boba Fett? It's like it's perfect. It's so perfect. You just. So I was annoyed, but sad as well, because I knew that what, I don't know where it's going to stop. Where's it going to stop? What about the Death Star? Is death too edgy? Not feeling too sick, not feeling too well star. We'll call it that. It's not feeling too. Ain't going to come into work today, Scar. Yeah, we'll call it that.
Right. Star Wars, the word wars was a little controversial. I mean, people started making memes out of it too. So there's a good, group of fans that were having a kind of a sense of humor about it, star conflicts or, stuff like that.
Star Friends. I think we should go Star Friends. That sounds good.
Yeah, it's funny about Star Wars fans. On whatever side of the platform that you lay, I mean, we're pretty passionate about this property that has been around for decades, and we're still talking about it. There's podcasts, there's shows, there's YouTubes. We're still talking about it, and obviously it continues. Why are we so passionate about defending Star Wars? What do you think?
I think like I mentioned earlier, the pre and post internet. I think anything pre-internet shouldn't be messed with. Like, however it was made, the ignorance of the people that made, of the times it was made in. We should be smart enough to realize, okay, this was made in a time when this wasn't, such a sensitive subject. So, but I don't know. It kind of makes you feel like, do I want to be a Star Wars fan? If they kind of making it a very dark thing. Right? Star Wars fans got a bad name now. They're like the rowdy kids in the playground or something. It's like, I don't know if I want to be that anymore. I just want to be a squidhead. Squidhead was what Don Bees used to call the uber Star Wars fans, people that just loved, like I said, that didn't see any. I see no wrong in it. I see everything's perfect. Even that Stormtrooper bumping his head, even that everything's perfect. Even almost seeing the lettering on the syringe of the interrogator droid, even that stuff, I love it. And those kind of people I can relate to. But I'm not gonna go out and kick and scream about it. It's something that should be personal to you. Why do you feel like having to broadcast it? It's like, I don't understand that broadcast need that some people have. And I didn't realize that my broadcast would go as far as it did. Nothing else has. It's funny that on my site, which is 99.9% positive, I say one thing that kind of I'm pissed off about. That's the one thing that suddenly people are reading about in England.
And all over. I mean, you had articles, talk about your comments.
It's global. It was crazy. And it's like so, I learned a long time from watching talk shows that you're not, it's best not to read the comments. Don't read the articles. Just go off of what your friends say. And so I haven't read one. And it doesn't make me ignorant. It just makes me, I don't want to, some people have, gotten into depressions over being bullied globally. Some people have even, taken their own lives from being bullied. It's not something that doesn't exist. It does exist. And so the only way you could actually have to stay true to yourself, all I'm selling is me. So the less I read that stuff, the more I stay me. And a lot of people like me for me. So more than the people that hate me.
Yeah, and that that's a good thing. You bring that up at a time when sensibilities are kind of in question. We here with our show and our podcast, Brad and I kind of started this podcast in 2019 at the tail end of Star Wars Celebration here in Chicago. And, we're kind of known for, okay, if you don't like something, that's cool. Let's talk about it. But we're tongue in cheek. We're known kind of like the Switzerland of Star Wars podcasts. We accept everybody's opinions. We may not like one thing. You guys like it. It's fine. But nowadays people have this fear about expressing an opinion. And I find that odd. As an older person, I could care less like what you have to say. We can talk about it, and that's your thing, and here's my thing, and we can still be friends. I mean, none of us ripped our eyes out in the school play yard while we were playing with Star Wars action figures. It just didn't happen. And then all of a sudden now you've got two camps for whatever reason, ripping each other apart. And the bullying, really it is serious, but I don't know. I'm hoping that a lot of people kind of, come to their senses as far as, stepping back from that keyboard warrior stance and just kind of accepting, there are different opinions out there. And whether you like it or you don't like it, you don't have to answer everybody, or you don't have to make a comment on everybody's post. Just chill.
But I used to be a DJ. And it didn't matter what you had played, there's always someone wanted something else. You couldn't please. There's always someone that wants the Doors. Oh, could you play some disco? You're not going to please everyone. So it's just that, you're not going to please everybody. But I just wish we could not feel the necessity to broadcast, but respect the fact that we have opinions. I was asked my opinion. I was asked it over and over again to what I said, to what I thought, and then that was the thing that sparked the fire. But I was asked repeatedly, what do you think? What do you think? You're Boba Fett. What do you think? And so, okay, this is what I think. And it's like, how dare you think that? Like, well, you asked me. If you might not like the Solo movie, that's your opinion. I love the Solo movie. Whether we just, we can agree to disagree. Okay. Yeah. Bottom line, agree to disagree. There's not enough of that on the internet. It's not enough of, okay, well, that's what you think. I think differently. There you have it. It's almost like someone has to win.
Right.
It's like thumb wars. Someone has to win. Like, why? Right.
I want to say we live in a zero-sum world. Someone's got to lose for someone to win. And it's funny that you mentioned, how that blew up unexpectedly. And I think our most popular tweet to date was a video that we shared that someone else produced where Sam Witwer was giving his opinion on Luke Skywalker and what Luke Skywalker would or would not have done. And it was just amazing the responses that we got to that, and how much debate that sparked. Unusually it was civil debate that time for the most part, for the internet at least. But like you guys were saying, one man's slave Leia is another man's Hut Slayer, so just leave it at that. But we can't end this on a negative note with as the internet would have you do. So we'll end it on a positive note. We've talked about the behind the scenes stuff that you post. So what is your favorite thing about the Star Wars franchise? A galaxy far, far away.
That's easy, Boba Fett. I mean, that's a silly question. It always was. Like, a lot of people think, oh, you like Boba Fett because you were Boba Fett. No. Now, this happened before The Empire Strikes Back came out, when they had just that action figure and a bio and a picture description. I'm like, oh my God, it's the man with no name out my spaghetti westerns in the Star Wars universe. I love it. I am invested. And everything about him being a loner. I was a loner at school, mainly because I'm an artist and very introverted. I'd be off, painting in the corner and quite happy for a whole day doing that. But because of that, I didn't really have anyone that hung around with that had the same interests as me.
Yeah.
So I was very much a loner. So when I read this bio of Boba Fett, I just could identify it, and it just on every level, everything I read, kind of like I gotta see what this character does. And then when I saw him in action in Empire, I was fully invested. And that's why I was so crushed when I saw Jedi for the first time. I really had higher hopes for what I was expecting to see him do in that third movie. So that's why Jedi. A lot of people some people that are very passionate about Jedi, that's their favorite one. But for me, it wasn't just because of that.
Yeah. Well, that is fantastic. It's just these connections to the characters that we have, and I have a special connection. As
boy.
There you go. Very nice, very nice. And I have a special connection to Darth Vader, the Dark Lord of the Sith, and it's probably something I have to talk to my therapist about. I don't know about.
Darth Vader.
There you go. There he is. And then Brad is showing off his Boba Fett.
It's a better view anyway.
Yeah. But Darth Vader. Here he is, right behind. I don't know my left from my right, but anyway, that's a whole suit there. But it's Mark. I just want to thank you very much for joining us here on the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, Scarif Live. It has been an honor and a pleasure to talk with you. Like I said, I enjoy your art, and we all enjoy your art and your posts behind the scenes. And you have a permanent home here on Scarif whenever you want to come back and talk whatever it is that you want to talk about. You are
Let's do that.
welcome.
Let's do that.
Absolutely.
Sign me up.
Excellent.
And
your
Wookiee
dog
too.
and Wookiee too. There you go.
We got a second on that. I like it.
Excellent. I want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out with us tonight and chatting with Mr. Mark Austin. Go give him a follow. His handle is right there on the screen, and make sure to chat with him online. He does some fantastic work, and keep on posting those videos, because those videos of your paintings are amazing. And I love Star Wars art, and every time I see some, I wish I had more wall space. I wish I had
Me too.
Chicago was going to be the home of Lucasfilm's. I love it. Stormtroopers, anything Empire for me, I love. So Stormtroopers, Darth Vader, it is really fantastic. But Mark, again, thank you very much for joining us. I know you're on the West Coast. I had a real hard time with doing the math on this one for time zones here, because Brad's on the East Coast. Our co-host is also in that time zone. I'm in Chicago in the central area, so
we made it work.
We made it work. It's the new math. So I just want to say thank you to everybody in the chat. Love you guys. Brad, take it away, brother.
Just remember, kids, he's no good to me dead, and that's the Scuttlebutt.
Awesome. Take it away, guys. See you later, man.